World Combat Sports. Thank you all for tuning in. Today's segment will be about UFC 226. But first of all, I want to salute the members and the fans who are supporting the group and ask that you follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram and pass the word. It's much and truly appreciated. Let's kick this off. Tonight is a very dynamite card. It has a lot of heavy hitters on it. I'm not expecting anything less from the competition. It's just no room for that particular aspect to happen. I see all these potential bouts on the main card to absolutely be fire. And what I mean by that, jumpstarting this card is Gohan Saki against Khalil Rountree Jr. Now, those of you that follow the kickboxing scene over there in the Pride know who Saki is. Has impeccable display of striking with his punches. The way he executes them, it is punches and bunches. And he masks those punches with kicks. And he is a very high energy, high volume type striker. I really haven't seen Rountree deal with someone to the magnitude of his striking ability in Saki, but Rountree himself is no slouch. He has very good solid skill set as an all-around mixed martial artist. He's a very strong, flying on the radar type of fighter. You see him most of the time very calm, cool, collective in there, patient, takes his time in executing his offense, but he probably won't have as much time to do that against Saki. Saki, his last outing to me, he basically demonstrated a lot of, cardio issues. And though he was able to do that in kickboxing, have a high punch and kick volume, this is mixed martial arts. So if you're going to land a kick, you might want to be prepared for the takedown, which Rountree has all the tool sets to take him to the ground. Look, as fight fans, the jury's still out on whether Saki can basically handle himself on the ground against a true mixed martial artist has been in the sport longest than he has. When he was over there in kickboxing, you had guys over here already in the sport. So, my nod goes to Rountree. He should get the job done. I say it should go the distance. Saki is a tough opponent to deal with. And according to how it all goes down, which the first round is Saki's strongest round. So, a lot of fireworks is going to be sparking in the first round between these two. But I see Rountree getting it done. I just see him being a more calm, collective guy. Setting up his strikes much better. The stronger guy out of the two. And he will for sure get it done. It might take him a minute. A little bit in the first frame of the second round, but it will get done. Moving on. Those of you that knew Michael Chiesa should know Anthony Showtime Pettis. Just a little backstory on Chiesa. He was a fighter that was in the front seat when Conor McGregor somehow went on a rampage, and he was upset about one of his compeers, teammates being cornered, by Khabib Nurmagomedov. So he took it upon himself to pick up a trolley and dump it through the window, which in fact cut Chiesa. Chiesa was due to fight that night, so it cut him, opened him up a little bit. He had to go to the doctor. And since that incident, I guess there's been some type of litigation going on in the court system with these guys. Conor McGregor, as you've seen, he was in there. He had to go over there and see the judge. So Chiesa was out. Plus took money off his plate, so I'm pretty sure Conor McGregor is compensating him to that. Then over to Anthony Showtime Pettis, once at the top of the hierarchy of his division, a former champion. Anthony Pettis had his up and downs. He's been fluctuating in between weight classes, and he's still trying to just find his groove, his niche again. I mean, we're talking about a fighter who was on the cover of the Wheaties box, the first MMA fighter to do that. And he's a very talented guy. I mean, Anthony Pettis is no joke. He is Showtime. When he was on his game, he was on. But I think the game caught up to him. and passed him up. Will Chiesa be able to do anything different to Pettis? You know, Chiesa's a long, rangy, lanky type fighter. You know, as I look at the matchup between these two, I still see Anthony Pettis as being a much more dominant striker. You know, that's just me. Chiesa, you know, I'm not taking anything away from him. When he fought Kevin Lee, he was game. He's very thorough, solid on the ground. His striking, like I said, very rangy, kind of sporadic at points, you know. But he does what he have to do the land effective punches. But I think the betting odds is going towards Chiesa because he is a little young rising star in the UFC, and he's been pretty consistent. Even though he was subbed by Kevin Lee, I think with Anthony Pettis it'll be much more equal skill set. And I see these two going in there and setting the tone from the opening bell. But the betting odds has Michael Chiesa. I have Anthony Pettis. I still think he's solid enough. I think his mind is slowly but surely getting back into the niche, and he should get it done against Chiesa. Moving up to the third fight, Paul Felder and Mike Perry. This is a no-brainer for me. Okay, some betting odds have Mike Perry winning this. Mike Perry have no problem at all hydrating off his own blood. He is a wild dude. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's good for the sport. His bravado is just like genuine. That's who he is. He's a crazy dude, man. He's outgoing. You know, his personality, he wears it all over. You know what I'm saying? Anywhere you can just about know that Mike Perry is going to be setting the room and sparking up some type of drama. That's just how he do business. He ain't scared of nobody. He'll let it be known, and he go in there to bang and throw hands. Paul Felder, same thing. You can't ever count Paul Felder out the race when it comes to coming out the blocks in these fights, man. He is one of the most solid, well-rounded guys, and I think he's just short of earning himself a title shot, period. When you see this guy fight, he's solid. He's only getting better. So I just don't see Mike Perry having enough to deal with him, even though the durability lies with Mike Perry. I could say the same for Paul Felder. Is he going to take that amount of punishment, you know, from Perry? Is Felder going to be able to take that punishment from Perry? Because I truly don't think Perry is going to be able to implement all of that on Felder, who has the better striking, better defense, better all-around game. Perry is a brawler. He can lose he can lose himself sometime when he get wrapped up in the brawl. So for me, I'm going for Paul Felder. Next, the co-headliner, people. This is it. This is one of the fights that may take the night. Serious. Francis Ngannou against Derek the Beast Lewis. Let me correct that. Derek the Black Beast Lewis. Listen, we all know Francis Ngannou. You know, when he was in there, it went viral. The way he knocked out Alistair Overeem. Seemed like he damn near decapitated him. But hey, Alistair Overeem's been knocked out before. I didn't see anything so spectacular about it. He just caught him with an uppercut. So be it, he won the fight. Now he's in there with the guy Derek Lewis, who's been ever so often improving his game. He's been doing it on the radar. He's been, basically making strides to his cardio. He is a very underrated fighter. He execute the small things, and then you slowly but surely see it in his performances in the cage. And Derek Lewis has been, great with making those adjustments. He's no slouch on the ground. He's been taken down. Initially, when he started fighting in the UFC, he was getting taken down, and people was kind of curious as to, if he can, how would he work off his back? Could he handle someone with top pressure, solid top pressure? Could he make it back to his feet? And he's proven to be that guy. Has pretty decent takedown defense. Okay, the only thing I say with that is I don't see Ngannou's trying to take Lewis down. He's all about striking. When Ngannou fought Stipe Miocic, it came down to him just sitting down heavily and just 100% committing on his power punches. That's exactly what Ngannou's going to do against Derek Lewis, because Lewis kind of fits the equal opposition to being for a banger, being two guys throwing hands, trying to knock each other out. That's what these two guys are going to do. It's not going to be a jiu-jitsu or ground game or technician, who's the best wrestler, who's the best kicker, because Ngannou, he doesn't throw kicks like that. Neither does Lewis. So they're going to be trying to knock each other out. You know, it might be a very 8 to 10 second filling out process, but what went down in the weigh-ins, if y'all didn't see it, you know, Derek Lewis was up in Ngannou's face, close inches. And you know, Dana tried his best to break it up, but Dana's no fighter. He just loves getting in between fighters because it looks good, knowing he couldn't go 10 seconds with anybody up on that stage. But Lewis had basically said, it's okay, I'm not going to do anything, it's all good. And then when he closed distance once again, down for the stare down, he ended up pushing Ngannou, which Ngannou threw his hands up and said, you know, it's okay, I'll see this guy tomorrow. He didn't make such a big deal out of it, but it happened. And Derek Lewis is going to have to see that man come tonight. He's going to have to come see him, and he better make sure he has his cardio together, and we'll see if Lewis is able to handle the power of Ngannou. The match that everybody's waiting for, that has so much history. We got Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier. Just a little history on my man Daniel Cormier. When he was in Strikeforce, people, this guy was fighting heavyweight, and he was absolutely slaughtering his opponents. His notable bout with Josh Barnett, he was actually picking this man up who isn't an easy measure and just toss him around the cage with no problem. His Olympic caliber wrestling is absolutely the top of the food chain when it comes to wrestlers in MMA. He is the elite. Even though Daniel Cormier, his diet, he loves to eat, you know, he comes in there looking soft around the midriff. Hey, he's a legitimate fighter, man. Daniel Cormier's wrestling, attached with his much polished striking, man, he has did strides, and he is a Hall of Famer. Absolutely. The only reason he did not fight heavyweight in the UFC because of his very close friend Cain Velasquez. So he chose to fight light heavyweight. Stipe Miocic is the guy, the good guy, the fireman, the one who basically has did everything right, but somehow the native of Cleveland, Ohio, he cannot get the fans behind him as a champion. He's defended the belt 3 times. He's fought the likes of, you know, Andre Arlovski, Roy Nelson, Stefan Struve, Junior Dos Santos twice. He has fought a lot of guys. I mean, when I tell you his resume is very impeccable, you know, he would be a future Hall of Famer also. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Fabio Maldonado, Gabriel Gonzaga, you know, Fabricio Verdum, Alistair Overeem, you know, and of course his recent bout in Francis Ngannou. And you know, and it's hard to understand why people are not supporting his wave as a heavyweight champion, but he is legitimate. Stipe say he doesn't give a damn about what people think, whether they support him or not. He's gonna go in there and get the job done, and it ain't nothing they can do about it. They can kiss his ass. That's basically what he said. Stipe is a pretty solid, well-rounded guy. He has good takedown defense, which he's gonna need against Daniel Cormier, and he's gonna have to be thinking in there, because Cormier, man, he thinks. He's a thinking man in there. He is. You see his previous bouts against Alexander Gustafsson. He was pressing the pace the entire fight. He dumped him on his head just like he did Josh Barnett. I mean, he's willing to take people for a ride. He made Anthony Rumble Johnson quit twice. You know, subbed him twice. You know, it goes without saying with DC. You know, his opponents are legitimate caliber people. Look what he did to Dan Henderson. Pretty solid wrestler. Came in here with 2 belts from Pride, and he just tossed him around the cage like it was nothing. You know, he fought Anderson Silva, defeated him also. But what he's most notable for is his blossoming rivalry with John Bones Jones, which he lost twice. He was 0-2. And we all know the extent to John Jones being stripped and everything like that. But outside of John Bones Jones in the light heavyweight division, no one beats Comier. No one. Now he's moving up, and they're having a mega fight with Stipe Miocic, and it's going to prove something. It's going to see if Comier is able to handle somebody that's been at this weight for quite some time in Miocic. He's been there for a while. He's settled in. But guess what? It's not like Comier has never fought at heavyweight in his entire MMA career. He dominated it before he went over to the UFC. He absolutely did. And yes, he had some bad results with John Bones Jones, but guess what? A lot of other people have too. That is the best fighter not in the UFC right now. Period. Hands down. John Jones. But this is not about him. This is about Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier. I see Stipe Miocic getting it done tonight. That's just me, because when it comes down to being well-rounded, I still think Miocic edges Comier out. That's what I think. That's just my opinion. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, people. But I just see Miocic being able to, counter Comier, who's going to be pressing the issue from the opening bell. It's a 5-round bout, 5 minutes, 5 rounds. And it's really going to be heated, because guess what? Comier has something to prove. A lot of people doubt him. Somehow when he was going up against John Jones, people just booed him and they went for the villain, when Comier's been a good guy. He's been a good guy. Really? Yeah, he trash talk periodically, but hey, Comier go in there and fight. He goes in there and throw down, man. He goes in there and toss big dudes on their head. I'm talking about top ranked dudes in the world. He tosses them on their head. When he gets close enough to clinch and he locks them hands up, if it's a single or double leg, he's taking you for a ride. We're not even talking about if it's through the crotch. You can cancel it. You know what? It doesn't matter what grip he has. If he locks up his hands, most of the time people going for a ride. The only people he didn't do that to most of the time, the only fighter was John Jones. But guess what? It's going to be an absolutely dynamite card tonight. I gave you my predictions from the main card. First, it was Roundtree. I still think he gets it done. And then I'm still going with the veteran Anthony Pettis over Michael Chiesa. And then between Paul Felder and Mike Perry, Paul Felder, absolutely. Moving up to the co-main is Francis Ngannou and Derek Lewis. I got Derek Lewis. I'm just not sold on Francis Ngannou. The way he looked against Stipe, and I really didn't think he did anything different than what any other fighter has done in knocking out Alistair Overeem. So I'm going with Derek Lewis if he can handle the punching power of Ngannou. And then up to Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier, which is the headliner. I'm going with Stipe Miocic. Okay. And to close this down, I just want to talk about the card, the tough finale last night. The main card, Brad Tavares and Israel Adesanya. It was a very tough contested bout. I like what I seen in there. It went 5 solid rounds. Man, Brad Tavares is a very tough individual. He is a resilient, durable guy. Talking about a chin, very, very durable, titanium based, because he was taking some punches from Adesanya. Adesanya showed that he can fight from any stance. He is a magician in there. He is a polymath at his craft. He is a master of what he does. He has very good fast twitch fibers. He can kick you from any stance, punch you. He showed wrinkles in his game with his elbow strikes. Even he did a spinning elbow, which he said, he kind of emulated what John Bones Jones did to Stephen Bonner, which I kind of saw that when he actually did. I said, wow, that's kind of similar to what John Bones Jones did to Stephen Bonner. But this kid Adesanya is very, very unique, dynamic in his own style. He has very much a promising future in the UFC and possibly going up for the strap one day versus Robert Whittaker if he's still the reigning current champion. So, hey, as MMA fans, what you think? I think it's a bright future for this kid, Israel Adesanya. I like what I see. Very well-rounded. He went 5 rounds, solid rounds. Hey, he's not knocking everyone out, but he is a solid striker. And when he's putting away rounds, it's up to his opponents to stifle that. If he's going in there with solid rounds, and you're only talking about a 5-round outing, his opponent has to shut him down. You have to make him respect you. And what was so great, we got to see his takedown defense, which is it looked impressive. His takedown defense looked impressive. Good hips, sprawl. I mean, dude is solid. You know, haven't really had a chance to see his ground game as far as working off his back, you know, but he showed very good takedown defense against a wrestler in Tavares. And he was able to open Tavares up. A couple of times they stopped the fight because he opened him up with a cut, but the doctor didn't see that it was severe enough to do that, so they kept fighting. And it went to the final bell, and he won a decision. And the guy's, you know, pretty much good for the sport. The way he basically expresses himself, his confidence level is not over and beyond. And I truly think this kid is going to be a very highly talented prospect in the future. I'm talking about, you know, you're going to see his face over a lot of posters if he continue to win the way he is. You know, he just has bravado and everything to go along with it. And it'll be great to see him in there with someone with the likes of Uriah Hall, who he called out. He has a long ways to get out there with Robert Whittaker. Even Yoel Romero, that'll be an interesting fight, you know, to see him in there with a wrestler like Yoel. That'll be a tough contest for him. But yeah, people, MMA fanatics, fight fans, combat sports enthusiasts, I appreciate your company. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all social media outlets. And until then, this is World Combat Sports.